This is the Altitude Daily Podcast. Everything you can't miss from today on Altitude Sports Radio. Mosher, Lombardi, and Kane.
Coach, I apologize. I've asked you a question for about 2.5 years now, and I want to ask it in a different way. It's not how is Landy feeling, it's what's going to be the plan with Landy this postseason.
Yeah, I haven't decided yet. Like, we're hoping here everything goes good this week. I mean, he was on the ice again yesterday after playing 2 games on the weekend, so that's a really good sign. And, you know, like we've had this week will be good for us too because of all the injuries that we've had and guys trying to get over things and get feeling at their best. But we are hoping, and it's looking like we could have everybody available to us for Game 1 in Dallas. You know, that's the hope, that we have options in all positions here, and that we're able to choose a lineup that gets it done, and we'll just kind of go from there after Game 1, see how everyone's feeling.
It's everything off the ice, too, that he brings that makes his value so huge. Could you just touch on that a little bit, what Gabe Landeskog means to the room and really kind of to the organization in that role?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard even to describe. Just like, I mean, he's like a father figure, but also one of the guys, and he's just got a wealth of knowledge. It's just the way he carries himself and the aura around him as a leader, and he's an extension of the coaching staff while still being one of the hardest competitors with the jersey on, right? So he's earned a tremendous amount of respect, and so like his voice in the room and the calming presence of everything that he brings to the locker room on a nightly basis is unmeasurable. So like I think like making some of these lineup decisions and talking with Landy like that, you have to take that into consideration as a coach. You know, I think the most important thing is what's he going to be able to do on the ice at game speed at NHL at the toughest time of the year, and then what he provides to the room, and just how does it all shake out? Because it looks like we got, you know, hopefully we'll have 15 healthy bodies up front here, and we'll have to choose a lineup of 12 on a nightly basis. But it's certainly good to have him back in the mix.
The Altitude Daily, the morning sprint.
Raj, call me crazy, but those 2 storylines are massive. But are those 2 storylines distracting all of us Avs fans and the rest of the NHL from what I believe is going to be the most important storyline?
What's that?
And it's where your wounds from the last 2 postseasons really do come from in terms of your fear about the Avs and arguably the most important player for this team. Is that in back-to-back playoff series, Val Nichushkin, in back-to-back playoff postseasons, Val Nichushkin was not available to finish the remainder of it, and it had nothing to do with health, physical health. Is that the bigger story? I think it is. I think that Val Nichushkin playing the longevity of this entire postseason will be the difference between winning a Stanley Cup in your second in 3 years and not.
Eric Johnson went on Spit and Chicklets yesterday with Keith Yandel and Bissonnette and Whitney and all those guys. And, you know, they talked about EJ's return back to the Avs and obviously Gabe Landeskog. The other thing that they pointed out was, well, how's Val doing? EJ would go on to say he's in an amazing spot. We're comfortable with him. He's comfortable with who he is. He did a lot of work on him, on himself, and put himself into a bad situation over the last 2 years. But the team, the guys around him, and I think coming from EJ, granted EJ hasn't been here all of this year. He wasn't here all of last year, but he knows Nichushkin, and he knows that locker room better than he knows that locker room better than Ross Colton.
Yesterday we talked about the importance of Gabe Landeskog is so widespread, coming back to being on the ice and being the captain and being the leader and the ultimate connective tissue for the Avs. But we also talked about the importance with his relationship with Val Nichushkin.
Yeah.
Because he's been there with him. He's got that type of personality, we think, that would be able to relate and get to the level of where you're talking to Val as a human being and you're a friend and you're a trusted confidant. Is EJ, and the reason he might be around this roster also, to have another guy that is boots on the ground in the foxhole with Val to see to it that the best Val goes forward throughout this postseason.
The Altitude Daily, Columbus, Hastings, and DMAC.
I have never seen something that has gotten shot down in flames as an idea as much as this one with Shedeur. Holy cow. You weren't lying, Tyler, saying that the players, ex-Buffs, I've never seen anything like it.
Here's the thing, though. You're right. Ex-players feel a certain type of way about this. But in the big picture, in terms of a social media presence, and I'm just following from my own social media here, posted a couple things about it. Oh my gosh, we are outnumbered tenfold by the just like I don't want to call them Deion supporters. They're just like what do we call this? What do we call this? We're like
new school CU?
Sycophants?
Yeah, we're like there's no such thing as a flaw. There's no such thing as doing something wrong. And
groupies?
I guess. I mean, but I am outnumbered tenfold on social media by people in support of it. Whereas you're right, the people that are very close to it and intimate in the building or previously were in the building feel a certain type of way.
So anybody with a brain in their head realizes this is a bad idea. What you do have right now is a culture clash with CU about the new CU and the history of CU. Yeah. And it is unbelievably apparent. I don't know what you want to call them. The new CU? The new CU does not give a rat's ass about anything that happened more than 5 years ago.
And you know what? Just talking to Coach Sanford here on the way out, as he's walking out, we're walking in, having a conversation just about the state of college sports. Here's the reality. Colorado's not alone in this. This is the way it's going. Okay. This is the way that college football is going. The past is just gone. It's over with. The tradition is over with.
That's brutal.
And you know what the sad reality of that is for guys like myself, and Scott probably was an era ahead where they might have felt more pride in their professional teams. But, you know, for guys like myself where, you know, I played on a handful of different NFL teams, but I really only got passion. I mean, true, deep-rooted in my blood passion for the University of Colorado. Players, college football players, aren't even going to feel that way about their own universities here very soon.
True.
And you know what? Yesterday we had this chess versus checkers conversation, and we could debate that. The reality is Deion's just ahead of things. He is. And I don't like it. I don't love it. I don't have to want it to be this way, but I do admit the fact that Deion Sanders is arguably doing the right thing for the future of the Colorado Buffaloes by staying ahead of times, and I think this is what he's trying to do.
I think this has nothing to do with staying in front of times. I think this is pure and simple Sanders' ego.
Maybe.
And
I won't fight you too hard.
Also in that interview today, Chad talked about if they'd have just said, okay, Hunter.
Nobody would have a problem with
it. We wouldn't even have the discussion.
Not really. It would have been a little like, I think timing could have been something, but nobody would have had a big problem with it.
I think there still would have been a discussion.
The Altitude Daily. Kretman and Lindahl.
If they come back 3-15, and it seems highly likely they will.
They probably will.
Because they just don't have the bats going. Now, who knows? You know, they found a way most series to at least get the bats going in one game, and maybe this will be it.
Except the Padres series.
Except the Padres series where they went scoreless.
And the Phillies series.
All right, never mind. No, but you know, they had the one day against Tampa Bay, and I don't know who even came to town for opening day. I can't even remember. Was that the Brewers?
It was the A's.
They
beat them on Sunday.
And then the Brewers.
Yeah, they scored 12 runs on that Sunday.
That's right. Is Bud Black, what would firing Bud Black do at this point?
Nothing.
Seriously.
It wouldn't make a difference.
Like, I think in a normal sports situation, some message does have to be sent. And unfortunately, for those that lose jobs, that's what happens sometimes.
Right.
But I don't know what this does. It doesn't give you a better minor league system. It doesn't remove the contract of Chris Bryant from your financial, puzzle.
Also, baseball's not like a try-hard sport.
Right.
And look, you can make the argument that when Clint Hurdle was fired and Jim Tracy was bought in 2009, that was what then elevated that club and got them going. Sure. Also, that team was good.
Yeah, you had the likes of Troy Tulowitzki and Carlos Gonzalez. And
you had stars all over the place.
Ubaldo Jimenez still right?
On that club. You sure did.
You had a bona fide closer who unfortunately...
It was a very, very good team that they had that year. That's not what they have right now. This is a rebuilding team, and it's like there has to be a vision and a plan for all of it, and I don't know what it is. Bill Schmidt, should his...
Well, I would start there.
Sure.
I would start there That's at least behind the scenes.
Andy, this is like the ultimate defeatism thing to say about that club. I don't think it would do anything. I'm telling you, I don't think that the Rockies are in the place that they are because, like, Bill Schmidt is a bad talent evaluator or anything else like that. I don't think he's a great talent evaluator either, but it flat out comes down to organizational structure. Like, are you going to bring in a bright young baseball mind and get the hell out of their way and let them build this thing up? No. It's all going to be operated through Dick Monfort's vision. That's what Bill Schmidt, that's the confines that he has to work through right now. That's what Bridich had to work through. That's what Dan O'Dowd had to work through.
You've been listening to the Altitude Daily. Catch us live weekdays on 92.5 FM, the Altitude Sports Radio app, twitch.tv/AltitudeSR, youtube.com @Altitude Sports Radio, and your favorite smart speaker. Say Altitude Sports Radio.